Welcome everyone to the Ask Homeschool show. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Sinead Brady from A Career to Love, who's going to be talking to us today about all things career guidance related. Can we maybe start a student coming into 6th year, so in September, what is the process if they have designs on going to 3rd level? How does it work? You know, what do they need to do?
So the beginning part of 6th year, so you go into 6th year and you're getting ready, I suppose, for the end of 6th year already. So the important thing to become familiar with is the CAO website. So it's www.cao.ie. Also become familiar with apprenticeships.ie and with the PLC colleges, because they're all separate application processes. So CAO is for anybody that wants to go to college, so like an IT, one of the ITs like Dundalk, Sligo, Athlone, DIT, which offer courses. And then you have the universities like UCD, DCU, Trinity, so on. So you're looking at those as options that you apply for directly through the CAO, which is the Central Applications Office. So they're like a middleman or a middle opportunity between you, the student or the parent, and the college ultimately. So they collate all of the information from the Leaving Cert along with your wish list for the courses that you want to do. You put the information into the CAO centralised website and then they work on your behalf between the college and yourself. Okay,
so Leaving Certificate students who graduate in 2016 will be familiar with this.
Yes.
But just for maybe somebody who's going into 6th year, when does this normally happen during the school year? I presume the school organises it.
Yeah, good question. So this year's Leaving Cert class the process of the CAO and all of the final offers and subsequent rounds of the CAO will finish up in late October. So typically it's around the 1st of November that the CAO courses or the CAO website opens up for applicants for this year. So if you're going to college in 2017 or next year, you would be applying through the CAO anytime from the 1st of November of this year upwards to the 1st of February of the following year.
Okay, so just a question comes in. My son just got his Leaving Cert results last week. What happens next?
Okay, so the next part is, so on Wednesday the Leaving Cert results were just issued, and for those students who have applied through the CAO, which is through www.cao.ie, they will be offered courses from their level 6, level 7, of which you had 10 choices, or your level 8, again, of which you had 10 choices. So on Monday morning from 6 o'clock online or through your post, whichever option you have decided to avail of, you will be offered some will be actually in the lucky position to have been offered a level 8 course and a level 6, level 7 course. And then if you're in that lucky position, you can decide which you want the most.
Okay, this level 6, 7, how does that work? What are you referring to there?
Okay, so there's the National Framework of Qualifications in Ireland, and this is a European standardised National Framework of Qualifications, which allows us to compare the qualifications that we have here in Ireland with the qualifications in other parts of the EU and the world. But essentially, if you think of it like like a ladder with 10 steps, you complete the first 3 up as far as junior certificate. So you've got 3 steps of the ladder climbed. Then when you go to do your Leaving Cert, you complete the next 2, which takes you to the 5th step of the ladder. The CAO then deals with the 6th step, 7th and 8th step. Once you complete your Leaving Certificate, which is your level 5, you can go to level 6, which is a 2-year certificate course offered in the ITs around the country. Or you can go to a 3-year level 7 course, which is offered in the ITs around the country again. Or you can jump directly to a level 8, which is the biggest leap that you can take. And if you can imagine climbing a ladder, you can imagine taking 2 steps at the same time would be a little bit more difficult. Yeah. So the level 8 courses correspond to being that slightly bit, more academically challenging. And they're offered in the universities and the ITs. So you've got 10 choices from your level 8s and 10 choices from your level 6, level 7. And then at that point, you have to make a decision on Monday morning whether you're going to accept your level 8 if you've been offered one, or your level 6, level 7.
And that leads into the next question. What happens if I get my first round offer on Monday? So lucky enough, first round offer comes through, you've got it. What do you do next?
Okay, so if you get a first round offer on Monday, you've got 2 choices. You can accept that offer. So you simply go on to cao.ie and you go through the acceptance process, or you can choose to ignore that offer. And if you decide that, so say if you get a level 8 option and you get a level 6, level 7, you need to decide which one you want. You accept the one you don't, and you ignore the one you don't want. So you accept the one you want, and you ignore the one you don't want.
How long do you have to accept it?
You have until Monday week.
Okay.
So you've got 7 days. The only thing is, if you were looking at your CAO offer and you're saying, I'm not going to college this year, I want this course, but I'm not going to college this year, you have to inform the college on or before next Thursday of your decision to defer your place.
Okay, and that's another question we've got in. If I get my first choice offer on Monday, but I want to postpone my year and take a year out, can I do this?
Yes, you can, but there's a really specific process that's called the deferral process. You don't accept your offer, you don't decline your offer, and you don't go through the CAO. So what happens is you write directly to the admissions office of the college that you've secured the place in, and once you write directly to that college, you mark on the outside of the envelope very clearly the admissions office, but there's a deferral process. And you then explain to them as to why you want to defer your place, and they will tell you that you have been accepted to defer your place. And what a place deferral means is that you apply through the CAO again next year. The only course that you put on the form is the course that you have deferred, and you keep the course for that year at this year's points. So you don't go back into the points race the following year. You keep the course based on the points that you got in this year's Leaving Cert.
So if you're deferring for this upcoming year, you need to re-enroll in the CAO, you need to sign up again, and that's an important thing.
That's vital.
You just can't forget about it.
You cannot forget about it. No, you must reapply next year, and the only course that you put on your form for the following year is the course that you have deferred. If you put one other course in that form, you automatically lose the right to the deferred place. Yeah, it's very, very, very clear process, and very important that you follow the steps. But the CAO handbook, which is available online, does give you the step-by-step process, but it's very clear what you need to do.
What if I don't get my first round offer? What options do I have?
Okay, so if you don't get your first round offer, which means perhaps you don't get your first choice, what happens with the CAO is, if I always say to students as I'm dealing with them, when you're dealing with the CAO, you treat the CAO as your fairy godmother that is there to grant your wishes. So when you're filling out your form, the course that you want the very most goes at the first, and then the course that you're most less happy with goes the whole way down. So say for example you don't get offered your first choice, you get offered your fourth choice on your level 8. Every other course that you had on your CAO form beneath the fourth disappears. You get offered your fourth choice, and in subsequent round of offers, so in second and third rounds of offers, you could potentially be offered your third, your second, or your first. But I would always say to students, treat your first round offer as potentially your only offer. So if you turn it down, and in subsequent rounds of offers the points don't come down or whatever else, you may get no other offer.
Really?
Absolutely. So, but by accepting your first offer that you get this Monday, it doesn't mean that you won't be offered some of the other courses in subsequent round of offers. And even if you pay your fees and you've everything sorted out with the college, the CAO take over if you decide to accept the offer in the next round. So what will actually happen is the CAO will or the colleges will speak to one another, speak to the CAO, they'll transfer your fees, they'll do everything for you. So it's an administrative annoyance more than anything else. Yeah.
So you would be advising, you know, if you get your third option, is it that you would accept it in the hope that you would get, you know, a second at a later stage?
Absolutely. And even by accepting it, you're not necessarily going to have to take it.
I have failed maths, even though I have the points for the course I want. Will I get an offer?
Okay, so if you're amongst one of the 10% that has actually failed your maths this year, you are in somewhat of a difficult situation. 10%, yeah, 10%, which is quite high. Well, it's 9 point something, but yeah, pretty much 10% of students failed maths either at higher level or ordinary level. So we have to look at it very carefully. There are only 300 courses on the CAO that accept you without maths. So in order to get onto a course, typically you have to have passed pass maths for matriculation requirements or minimum entry requirements. So the CAO, or the college application process in Ireland, has 3 different hurdles that you have to jump. You have to meet the minimum entry requirements, which maths is typically one of. Then you have to meet specific requirements. So if a course requires you to have higher level maths, or a course requires you to have Irish, or a particular subject like a science subject or a language, you have to have those. And then also you have to make the points. So one without the other is of no value. The one thing I would say is though that there's a supplementary maths exam offered. So if you fail higher level maths, for example,
just higher level?
Just higher level maths. If you fail just higher level maths and you have applied for a science, technology, engineering or mathematics degree, the universities offer a second chance supplementary maths exam. 2 of the ITs also offer a supplementary maths exam for anybody who has failed maths.
Okay.
So it's really important that you keep an eye out for that information.
And how do you go about taking that?
So you have to register to do it with the individual colleges.
Okay.
The dates are all coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll put up some links to all of that for you. But as well as the links are coming up, and they also offer intensive revision courses. So you might feel a bit kind of, I suppose, less confident in your mathematical ability if you failed it in your Leaving Cert. The general consensus is that this year in particular, the maths was an easier exam paper, but marked very hard. So I would, you know, if you're feeling a little bit down in your luck and your confidence, make sure that you do the preparatory exam as well.
Okay.
But also I'd say to you is consider having your scripts checked and rechecked and reviewed, because there is the potential that you would go up.
Yeah.
And if you do go up and your points go up, you'll get offered the course that you should have been offered originally.
Okay, that's one of our questions later on. I want to get my grade rechecked. How do I do this?
Okay, so there's a window of opportunity for you to let the Department of Education know through your school that you want to have your scripts reviewed. So your school has the paperwork. So if you call into the secretary in the school or your principal, they have the paperwork that allows you to acknowledge that you want to have your scripts viewed. The viewing happens across 3 sessions on Friday and Saturday. Again, we'll put up links to the dates, etc. of that for you and how you can go about doing it. But if you want to have it rechecked, you review it first. Always review it first. Make sure that you add up the totals, because again, teachers who correct the papers are human and they're correcting a lot of papers. They may have left out unintentionally, naturally, a set of scores, or they may just not have taught it up properly. So make sure you check up all the administrative stuff, and then you can ask, once you've viewed your script, you can ask to see, and if you're on the cusp of a grade, so if you're right between fail and pass or so on, have it rechecked.
Okay.
It's worth having it rechecked.
A question here, can I repeat only one subject for my Leaving Certificate, take a year out maybe to work, and then sit that subject on its own in 2017?
Absolutely. So if you're repeating for matriculation purposes, which means if you come back to that student that got the 500 points or did very well and got the points for their course but doesn't have maths, you can absolutely repeat maths for entry requirements purposes. It won't count towards your points, but it will count towards meeting the matriculation subject requirements. So it's really vital to know that. And typically students do that externally to a school. So for example, PLC colleges or other alternatives are offered whereby it's sat as a single subject.
Okay,
Yes.
so is it a good idea, if you are going to repeat in the school that you sat your Leaving Cert the first time? Is it a good idea?
Personally, I mean, it's very much up to each individual child, but I sometimes feel that a fresh start, a new school or a new place that you can go to repeat, whereby you're not, because very often schools don't have a specific repeats Leaving Cert class, which means you fall into maybe having to pick up a subject that you didn't have, that you've never done before. You might have to sit a suite of subjects that don't necessarily suit you. So where I'm advising and the option and the opportunity is there, I always suggest repeating outside of your own school.
But obviously, you know, individual circumstances,
yes,
and in terms of your location throughout Ireland where you are, that's going to be, you know, as important a factor as just
absolutely
deciding if you're going to change. That's perfect. What options are available to me if I want to study in the UK? Okay,
so studying in the UK is really important in the sense that it's a separate application than the CAO, and it's called a UCAS application. So you make your application. It's a very different process than the Irish process. You have to fill out a personal statement, your teachers have to fill out a grade profile for you to get references and so on and so forth. So at this point in time, there are options through clearing, which is if you haven't applied through the UCAS before, you can apply through the clearing system, which is obviously something that's important. But if you're applying through UCAS, I always suggest that you give it a 6-week period at the very beginning of 6th year, during which you make a choice or a decision. The other option that's still open, particularly somebody who's missed out a little bit in terms of points and they don't want to repeat, is to go through UNICAS, which is the European system. So you can go to study things that are quite high points, so medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, some of the more high points courses, and indeed some of the courses that are not, in European countries. The cost is comparably low actually to Ireland when you factor in points or when you factor in rent and so on, but UNICAS is also open to students.
Sinead, I'm going to need your help to send me these links so we can put them on the bottom of our YouTube channel, because you know, certainly as a teacher myself, a lot of this stuff I certainly wasn't aware of, you know. There's one thing I forgot, available places for CAO applications.
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So this is something that many people don't know. When the CAO go through their first round of offers, offers and offer courses to students, there are a suite of courses typically, or some courses at level 8 and level 6, level 7 that haven't been filled. So there are places available on those courses in those colleges. And it might so happen be that there are available places on a course that you would like to study at level 6, level 7 or at level 8. So over the next week and towards the end of next week in particular, if you keep an eye on the CAO website, a link will appear with available places, and it will tell you what courses are on offer through the various colleges that still have places available in them. Okay. And you can actually go into your CAO form and put it on your CAO form, even if it hasn't been on your CAO form prior to this. Okay. And you could ultimately secure a place in it. The only thing is, and I would say to you, be careful that you're not just making a knee-jerk decision. Make sure that it is a course that you would have chosen anyway, but it's highly valuable, and people very successfully secure places on courses that they're very happy doing. A lot of the courses also, just to mention in relation to the available places, can be within private colleges, which means that there are full fees in those colleges. So just be aware of that. The private colleges have brilliant courses and they're excellent, but just be aware that if you do put something down in one of them, that there are full fees payable, and that's around €4,500 per year, but they're at 20% tax deductible.
Okay. Our last question is, I'm sure when I was 17 and 18, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe a lot of people out there are thinking that, you know, I'm 17, I'm 18, I don't want to go to college now. You know, what would be a good option for the student to ask for me at this stage in my life? So say you're just not ready to go to college, or maybe it's just something that, you know, you may have the points for, but at this stage you're just a bit unsure and you might try something else. What advice would you be to that student?
It's a really good question, because 17 is quite young going to college, and I think particularly with all that comes with going to have to move away from home and so on and so forth. But there's lots of options, like for example a PLC college, and the courses that they offer are excellent, whether it be in a course that you would actually like to study ultimately when you go to college, or whether you feel you'd like to have some skills that you mightn't get through the more academic route. So for example, there's lots of people that are going to college and they're doing different courses that give them sets of skills in 3D imaging or in animation or in ranges of different areas, and they're the skills that we need going out into the world. And equally, people that haven't done TY perhaps and have never got work experience are spending a year doing work experience or testing out internships and so on, maybe travelling to harness skills in a language. But the one thing I'd say to you is, if you decide to go out into the world and work, make sure that you're doing it with the intention of something beyond that. So for example, like you might decide that, you know, college is not right for me, but I really do want some kind of a learning prospect. Lidl, for example, do absolutely brilliant apprenticeships, whereby they put you through 50-50 college, 50% work placements. Brilliant. They pay it starting off at around 20,000 a year, and you have to make your applications typically in the May before you do your Leaving Cert. Okay. And they do have a preference for students with German, obviously, but they're quite happy to accept students from across the board. Also, you've got the apprenticeships, so make sure that you look up at apprenticeship.ie. There's 25 new grade 1 apprenticeships coming on stream over the next number of years, which is going to be looking at, for example, if you want to be a network engineer, if you want to be a chef, if you want to be a baker. So lots of non-traditional apprenticeships are now coming on stream as apprenticeships. Accountancy is going to fall within those networks as well. So there's lots of really interesting options for people that perhaps are academic but want a more practical approach. And engineering, with Jones Engineering, they're offering a split degree between Trinity and Jones Engineering at the moment. So there's lots of really buoyant, viable options and opportunities out there for people. Yeah,
there certainly is, and just basically on that, we'd like to thank you for coming in today.
You're more than welcome, Paul.
You know, it's invaluable to get that sort of advice, and you know, in what is a testing time. Sinead is hopefully going to join us again throughout the course of the next year, and you know, we'll be talking about different topics hopefully. But if somebody does want to get in touch with you and you know, needs some advice and that, you know, support, where they can contact you?
Yeah, they can contact me through Sinead at acareertolove.com, which is my email address, or I've got plenty of kind of useful articles on the website, which is acareertolove.com. So, but certainly get in contact, ask questions, and the best thing to do, there's no question that's not worth asking. Every question is worth asking. So certainly ask questions. I think it's the best way to make informed decisions and choices.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sinead.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so thanks for watching our first episode, and we will see you again soon. Okay, thank you.